Welcome to another episode of Going Homesteady. I'm glad to be here, glad to have you with us. I wanted to talk today about going off grid and really uh, some of the ways this expression can be misleading and how we need to better understand it. There are homesteaders out there who are committed to being off grid in 100% of ways that you could think about it. We're not those. We have electricity. We're glad to have electricity. We're not opposed to those who don't have electricity. But what I want you to understand is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Either you are absolutely 100% and utterly self sufficient, or you are completely and absolutely utterly dependent, where if there's one kind of hiccup in any kind of supply chain for anything, then you're just doomed. We don't want to be there. We recognize that this power grid, which is the typical grid that we talk about, that the power grid is vast, it's expansive, it goes pretty much everywhere, and it is a little rickety and a little dangerous. We have dangers from cyber attacks from overseas, as we've had even in the last year. We have dangers from overstress on it because you might have some big cold snap over half the country or some big heat wave over half the country. And there are people who are just dependent upon all of that electricity coming through. I get that. But that's not the only kind of dependence on the only kind of grid that there is out there. We live in an economic system where many companies and businesses practice what's called just in time delivery. And the idea here is that you don't have to take up a lot of money and a lot of space in holding inventory. You want to make it, you want to get it to the market, you want to make it, you want to get it to the market. And the the danger there is when there's a challenge, a difficulty, again, a hiccup. I can think of a couple of examples over the past few years. If you remember, early on during the COVID event, there was a great scramble amongst people across the country for looking for hand sanitizer and for toilet paper. We would go to Costco, and there were limitations about how much toilet paper you could buy at Costco. And there was limitations also, by the way, on how much bottled water you could buy there as well. Well, those are a couple of examples of things that got hung up, if you will, in the delivery system. Another example that maybe even more long lasting and economic impact is, if you remember, there was the chip problem for cars, where all the car manufacturers were struggling to get their cars made because there was a delay in getting chips. And so you had this whole turmoil and tumult in the car supply, and the price of used cars went through the roof. And there was less supply, but ongoing demand. And so that's one of those places where, again, this dependence on things as they are can be dangerous. So part of the thing about homesteading is we're trying to limit the number of well grids we're tied up in. We're trying to diminish our dependency. We're trying to get to the place where, if there is a hiccup, we can manage. We're not doomsday preppers. We don't know what the future holds, but we are, again, wanting to not be living on the margins where we have to depend on some bureaucrat in Washington to make sure we get X, Y, or Z, or some businessman in California to make sure we get X, Y, or Z. We want to be as independent as we can. Now, one of the key ways that you do that is you expand not just your grid, but you expand your knowledge base. I'm a student of economics, and one of the ironclad laws of economics goes like, it's the law of comparative advantage, which says people and nations should produce that for which they have the highest comparative advantage. Now you understand, right? Well, let me explain it a little bit. What this means is, suppose you're Haiti, right? Haiti's a pretty poor country, and Haiti looks around the world and it says, you know, Switzerland. Switzerland's a really successful, wealthy country, and they have a massive tourist industry where people come from all over the world to snow ski there. And we don't have anybody coming to Haiti to snow ski. So what we need to do is we need to make Haiti a snow skiing haven. Not a good idea. Why? Well, because Haiti has no mountains and Haiti has no snow. So trying to build a ski industry there wouldn't go very well. There's much better things like, oh, I don't know, tropical resorts in Haiti would make a whole lot more sense. And the same thing for people, right? You look at me, you don't think to yourself, you know, what that man needs to do is be a basketball player. That's where he needs to go. Those guys make a lot of money. I should be a No, I can't play basketball. So we should do what we're best at. We should do what we're made for. And the advantage of that over the economy is that it increases the efficiency of the whole economy because people are doing what they do best. And they're able to profit off of this because of trade. So that what I do best, if I'm a cobbler and I can make shoes really well, and you're a butcher and you can cut up meat really well, you can only eat so much meat, and I can only wear so many shoes. So we trade, and there's profit there on all sides. I'm always in danger of slipping into an economics lecture. I'm sorry about that. But what I want you to understand is there's a benefit of this, but there is a limit to this as well. One of the dangers is that we become, and you may have heard this expression, the specialist is someone who learns more and more about less and less until finally he knows everything about nothing. The generalist, on the other hand, learns less and less about more and more until finally he knows nothing about everything. Both of those errors we want to avoid. What we want to do, again, is expand our knowledge so that we're less dependent. Now, again, I'm not against dependence, and we're going to talk on another segment about sort of the blessings of comparative advantage, but on a local scale, right? We have friends who have equipment that we don't have, who can do things, and I can do things for them. And this whole idea of what's it called, where you trade, barter, this whole idea of barter can be part and parcel of again, getting off the grid of plugging ourselves into the mass economic machine with our tiny little gift that we are the world's biggest expert at. That's just a part of the machine. That's not what we want. And in fact, that's how it used to be. One way of looking at it is this. Back in the day, I don't know, 100 years ago, roughly, I don't know, probably 100 years ago, probably 50% of American workers were farmers of one sort or another. But probably 2/3 of the other non-farmers were people who had, in a sense, hobby farms, what we would call in our day hobby farms. People who had their own chickens, people who had their own milk cows, people who they would build a little economy in their own homes where if they did have some kind of specialized skill, that specialized skill was kind of like their money crop. Okay. So even the farmers would have their own cows, their own chickens, their own this and their own that, and then they would have something that they specialized in. It might be growing vegetables. It might be, livestock. It might be pigs. It might be this. It might be that. That would be their money crop, the thing that they would take to market. Think of another great picture of it would be the Ingalls family, right? They're taking eggs to the general store and selling them. Mr. Ingalls is taking his wheat crop and having it ground rather, at the mill there in Walnut Grove, and it goes into the marketplace. But most of what they're doing, they're growing for themselves. That's what I'm talking about. Well, that same principle is something that we can do to a degree as we learn to live more homesteady lives. I mean, think about, again, just something as simple as splitting our own wood. You know, there are many ways that you can get split wood. You can go to the grocery store, at least if you live someplace where it's cold. You can go to the grocery store and there's a little sack of about 8 logs, tiny little logs, for sale for $10. You can drive down a country road and there might be a little bigger sack for sale for $10. You can pick up the phone. Actually, you could go online, Google firewood, pick up the phone and order a cord of wood that's been seasoned and cut, and they'll bring it to you and stack it for you. And you can stick that in your fire and you can feel like uh, Jeremiah Johnson. You're not really Jeremiah Johnson, are you? You're just burning the wood that someone delivered for you. Or you can go all the way to the other extreme, like we talked about last time, where you're even making your logs log size with a saw. I don't want to go that far. But I do love, again, to do the whole part of the process, to go out into the woods, to find the appropriate tree that needs to be cut up, to use the chainsaw. Again, I don't like it, but the fact that I can do it kind of makes me feel good about myself. Kind of, it's one of those things where when you're done, you're like, this is good that I'm done. When you have to start, you wish it would rain or something so you don't have to do it. But when you do that, and then when I do that, I get the blessing of getting all these logs ready to split. And as you know, I love splitting the wood. So all of these things are things that we know, that we learn. Even the garden, even the fruit trees, all of these things that we're working on are little pieces of less dependence. You know, tonight, we have Bible study. You can tune in anytime you like to that Bible study at rc-lisa sproul on facebook.com. But we don't just put it out there in the internet. We also have people that come to our home, and we love to feed them because that too is an important part of building community. But tonight, when we eat, we're going to be eating, as we did last week. We're going to be eating the food that came out of the garden that's just over there. The food that Lisa planted, the food that we harvested together, the food that Lisa canned, and then the food that Lisa prepared for our guests. We're doing it again tonight with a different meal, but the same thing, food out of the garden. These are the kind of things that we're able to do. And you know what? If the grocery stores across America shut down tomorrow, we'd still be able to do it. Now, again, preppers are people who want to be able to do everything if everybody in the world dies. That's not what we're aiming for. We're not, but we do want to be better prepared. So let's remember this too, by the way, as we remember our interdependence. I want you to remember to go click the like button. That helps us. That helps us expand our reach. I want you to click the subscribe button and the alarm that lets you know when there's a new episode. I want you to share this channel with your friends. I want you to, put it in your social media and let people know. I want you to come back next time. I want you to recognize that we do work together, but we can together, as we've said from the beginning. This is a program where we're trying to learn together, not just us. We've already learned it all and we download it to you. We want to learn together. That's a great place for you to leave comments when you have things to add to the conversation. Let's join together in this journey, and let's get lots of people involved as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm grateful for your being here, and I can't wait to come back next time and talk some more about how together we all go homesteading.